Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. All right, so hello Michelle and Nicholas. What is your pitch for a general audience to watch Paranormal Solutions Incorporated?
Think about Scooby-Doo for adults. I think Scooby-Doo for adults who like paranormal entities and people doing their jobs very poorly.
Was this a fun project to research, or did you already know about tentacle porn, etc.?
Well, actually, I can take full credit for that one. We started with the monsters. Like we were just going through basically what David and I came up with the show originally. The whole idea was that we wanted to have how would real people, or how would these monsters actually, how would real people deal with them in real life, and how would these monsters kind of like infiltrate our lives in real life? And so when he came up with the idea for a Kraken, that's immediately where I went. And I don't know, I don't know why, I've never watched any tentacle porn, but I knew of it, and it sounded freaky enough that someone might want to pay to do it.
Yeah, it's a good thing just to know of, I think. Just to have it in the back. I don't know if I need to watch much hentai. That's just my opinion.
No, it's actually, so in my research for that, I did find out that was the workaround for the use of male genitalia in pornography. That was really how that was born, was that it was this workaround to be able to use a phallic image.
God.
Yeah, and so I thought to myself, that's the way you worked it around. That's pretty out there,
That's pretty alarming.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I still think it's fantastic that that somebody thought that it was morally superior to be assaulted by giant octopi as opposed to, just having consensual, relations. Yeah.
God. Now I kind of want to interview the person who came up with that. Good God. So I'm sure they're long dead though. But why do you think people have increasingly gravitated towards believing in the paranormal? Because it's a big thing these days.
Good question.
I think, part of it is, particularly with ghosts, it's our hope that there's something beyond. It's our hope that we can revisit, see people that we love, that we've lost. And I think, we just want to know, that there's something beyond us, whether it's ghosts or aliens. So I think it ties into that. And we all wish we had some kind of power, I think, as well, like a kind of like superpower, or like we could, communicate with the dead. So I think there's some wish fulfillment in that as well.
For sure. Actually, I say that all the time, that people would be like, what would you do if you saw a ghost? I'd be like, thank goodness that that this doesn't, the curtain doesn't just close, like that's like, I would be so relieved if I found a ghost. Like,
yeah, I read The Demonologist, which is the memoirs of Ed Warren, the guy that did the Amityville horror. And, he writes about these fantastical things, and it's really incredible, how specific and vivid these things are. I think people are just stoned and drunk and live bad lives, and it really sort of stems from that.
Certainly. I mean, I would say that those are definitely things that happened while we were writing some of those things. So that would definitely make sense. But yeah, actually, now I really want to touch upon what you said too about wish fulfillment. It's like so many people in our lives, our lives are pretty mundane, right? You wake up, you go to the same place, especially now during now you're not going anywhere, at this time. And there is something exciting about feeling like there's something more. And
like, how fun would it be to find a leprechaun in your backyard one day,
Yeah. And then all those myths are real. And then, or just the idea that even that is kind of like when you find a leprechaun, it's like this idea, it's like a lottery win, right? Yeah. It's like, this is maybe your only opportunity to ever be rich. It's like, you're not going to be rich working your job. So maybe if you find a fantastical
pot of
gold. Yeah. Then that would work, something like that.
Yeah, maybe the leprechauns are a metaphor for buying the lottery all the time.
You need to earn it. You need to trick your way into a successful life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get really deep here about wealth inequality and the source being the source of the paranormal, but who knows?
Yes, sir. So, tell me a bit about yourselves. Specifically, why did you want to get into, creating content?
I mean, for me, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's great. For paranormal specifically, like that was a show that we both, produced as well as he created it. I directed all the episodes, and we got to just, work on a fun concept. We got to work with all of our friends. We have a company together called Sociable Films, and we're really into, we call it making movies sociably. And, so, I mean, for us, it's, you get to be kind of the queen of your own castle when you're creating your own content. So for me, that's the appeal, and getting to employ my friends and
actually creating the content isn't actually the fun part in a strange way. Like, I mean, like the creative parts of it is fun. The producing part of it is really terrible, actually. But I think, as you touched upon Sociable Films, the idea is that we sort of wanted to stop waiting for other people to say yes. Like that's how it all started. Like, I remember the first time I wrote anything I was this 300-pound actor, and I kept asking my agent why I wasn't reading for lead roles. He's like, well, no one's ever seen you play a lead role. Okay. So I just write a film where I play the lead role, and that movie got produced. And it's like, it was almost out of ignorance, but also out of a lack of patience, right? So I think, but then once you start doing it, when you realize that if you have a good idea, you have the means to have actually get it out there into the world, it's actually creates a lot of, it's a pretty powerful feeling actually, in a strange way, until you release things and then you realize that no one likes them or no one watches them, and then you go back into this whole cycle.
Yes.
That's fun though. That's interesting. So tell me about the other projects you guys have done.
We've done a couple of features together that we've produced that are released. One is called After Party. It's on iTunes now, and one is called Prodigals. It's on iTunes as well, and it was on Crave for a while and was in the theaters. And those are independent feature-length films. We have a couple of projects in development. Another feature-length film that you co-wrote with our friend Dave DeVoe, an amazing playwright based in Vancouver. Trying to think about, I feel like we have a few other things on the go.
Oh yeah, we have a few things on the go, but we also have we recently did the Michelle and I together. So usually Michelle and I collaborate in sort of like a producer, director, writer, actor kind of situation, but really in the last few years we've sort of melded in terms of our working relationship. So we've actually created we went through the National Screen Institute program,
Totally TV,
the Totally Television program, and created a pilot through that program that's actually been picked up by Sienna Films. So that's in development. Who knows if that show will ever hit the air, but that's working. Well, but going back to
that's a medical procedural. I mean, I don't know. I think our slant of late anyways has been about just trying to create fun things that people will enjoy. There's so much stress out there, and with PSI in particular, we just wanted something that people could laugh at, and that was fun.
That was sort of actually born, talking about Paranormal Solutions specifically, we had just done After Party. That was the feature film that Michelle was talking about before, which was completely improvised. And David, who plays Jared, and Christina, who plays Madonna, were both in that film as well. And we really actually enjoyed that experience so much. Like, that was a film that we shot like very familially, like on weekends, like for almost no money. And the product was actually something we really, really enjoyed. And we thought this would be a good team to keep collaborating with. So there is something really cool about being able to not have to go through a really crazy casting process and whatnot, to literally just be, when you have a career as in the entertainment industry, even though people don't know who you are necessarily, you actually end up with this really amazing, rich pool of friends. And so there's just something really cool about being able to be like, you can play this, and you can play that, and you can play this, and we'll all go do it, and then it's legit.
That's good stuff. So tell me, this is really interesting, the whole do-it-yourself approach, and then the good things just kind of come. But you had to keep working, and it's an interesting story. Tell me how the film festival circuit has fit into all this.
Well, I'll say, having been on the West Coast for 10 years, Whistler Film Festival has been really good to me. They premiered 2 of my films. They premiered After Party and they premiered Prodigals, and they've brought us out to do panels. And so, they have been hugely instrumental. And I just did a doc lab with them this past year. So they've been very supportive.
With another web project, we collaborated on a show called The True Heroines a few years ago, which was nominated for Canadian Screen Award. Actually, that was sort of a surprise. This doesn't usually happen with little indie projects, but that did all like the Holly Web Fest and Toronto Web Fest and all these web fests that you can't possibly afford to travel to.
And Vancouver Web.
But definitely for our careers, I would say that we've had the most support out of the Whistler Film Fest, and again, we've been trying to do like sort of like the indie film fest scene, but at the end of the day, now there's just so many, and then the really large festivals, are looking for a pretty particular brand of film a lot of the time. But now I can't even imagine what it must be like for people to be premiering
during this time. Yeah, we haven't premiered anything in COVID times, so. That's got to be, a challenge, I'm sure.
Except for this, that people can watch at home, which is great.
Well, I've signed up for TIFF. I watched a bunch of their films and Whistler, and I mean you do miss being in a room and watching, seeing your friends premiere, what have you. But there was something nice about just watching movies in your pajamas. Something about that.
Yeah, it's a big carnival. Like, as fun as it is, it's really exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that every time we've been at festivals, I try to watch as many movies as I can, and half the time, you have this great pass because you're there, but you can barely get to any panels or barely get to any thing if you're someone participating. So actually, I do really prefer the festival scene as a ticket buyer.
Okay, so what is the funniest joke in the show, in your opinions?
Woof.
Oh.
Okay. So I know my personal favorite, but I think because it also gets missed all the time, so I'm really into it. Was in the Sasquatch episode. There's a callback where when they become friends, Mark and the Sasquatch become friends. The Sasquatch is trying to feed him like a bird. He's trying he's chewing up food and trying to spit the food into his mouth, and he says no. And then 5 minutes later in the episode, wants to become bonded. He lets him spit the food into his mouth like a bird. And for me, there's a real big payoff on that one for me, and that's mainly because those actors are really good friends, and he let him chew food into his mouth.
It's a trust, right?
Yeah, I remember having to have one of those big like consent conversations, being like, okay, like listen, I would really like it if David could chew up this food and actually spit into your mouth, Daniel. Are you okay with that? Give you a couple of days to think about that. We're not going to ask you on set. Like, if you pull out, that's fine. It's no problem. We had this whole, and then I remember the moment when Dan, who plays Mark, walks over to me and he's like, I decided I'm going to do it. So that's for me was.
I think for me, I like physical comedy. So I like the gag of Mark, played by Daniel Bacon, always peeing himself. That always gives me a chuckle, even after rewatching it. And I think one of my favorite scenes was when Diana Bang is slapping him after he's puking, and she just hit him so hard again.
Don't tell any stunt coordinators out there.
They were there.
Yeah, but don't tell anyone out there though that like I insisted that she actually hit me though. That was the thing where it's like I have a really bad fake reaction to pain, so right. But then
she just does like one slap over the threshold. It always surprises me and makes me laugh because I think it should be done, and she clocked them one more time.
Wow. That's great. So what were some lessons? Were there particular lessons you learned from this production that were unique?
Well, I think for me, one of the things I learned is because, I directed 6 out of the 8 episodes and we shot over 16 days, definitely schedule. We packed those days, so I wouldn't probably not do that again.
Yeah, we really did start with difficult things. I think the scheduling lesson there is that actually it would have just been better to find a bit more money and use a bit more days. This is the thing where we were really being really ambitious with the project, and then we got into a place where some days you're going 18 or 19 hours on a day. And it's really,
every person says it, but time, to always fighting for time. That really made me, that was the most enduring lesson for me from that. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Michelle and Nicholas. Do you have a final thought you would like to end this interview on?
Final thought.
Well, my final thought would just be, if you like the show, tell people. If you don't like the show, don't tell anyone.
Barely.
All right. That's a fun final thought. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.